Hello everyone and welcome to another program of the Government Information Service. This is InfoView, a GIS program that merges your views with information from the halls of government. I am Ruth Roberts. They say how you are called sometimes determines your outcome in life. Whether this is true or not is yet to be seen in some cases, and I'm sure it has been seen in others. Today we're going to talk to a woman who has written a book entitled They Call Me, basically dealing with nicknames. She's a Grenadian, a woman of the soil, let's call her. She's from Guelph, and her name is Shirley Anstis. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here.
Yes, again. It seems like you're always in Grenada.
I do feel like that, actually. That yes, British Airways is making a lot of money out of me at the moment.
That's not a bad thing.
It's great.
Yes. Give us an idea of the area you grew up and what that's like.
I grew up in Guelph. I was born in London, and then my family moved back to Grenada. So then I went to primary school, St. John's Anglican School in Guelph. My family, Jones family from Guelph, and my sisters have done stuff in Grenada. And then we went away in my middle years, sort of thing, and then I came back for sixth form. So there is a bit of a kind of Grenada, then not Grenada, then Grenada, and So I feel like I've always going back and forth. And now I live in England. I've been there since '87, so it's been a long time. And in the early years, you're trying to settle into a new place, but more recently, I've been coming back sort of every year, and this time twice a year the last couple of years. So I came at Christmas again with my husband and in-laws, and I was here last summer for the diaspora, the first one, and this summer for the diaspora and a book launch. So it's trying to do more things when I come every time, which is great.
Well, give us an idea of where you grew up in Guelph would, let's say, lend itself to this interest that you have in nickname.
I think then grown-ups had nicknames. I don't remember kids in my class having nicknames back then, but I was aware of grown-ups having funny names: tall boy, K-foot, this, sort of different names like
big
that.
Big eye, big nose.
Yes, and some very derogatory ones for the women, which I probably won't say right here, but I could remember a few of those as well. And thinking, that's really, why they call these strange things? But not following up on that, and then went and came back, and and more recently it's come from a counselling training point of view. That's when the idea came up again as, actually, this is really interesting and somebody needs to look at this. And why not me? Why not? I have the question. I want to find out, how do people with nicknames actually live with it? How do they make sense of it? How is it to be called something that's not very pleasant?
What is it about our background as black people? Because it seemed like a lot of the names, you will tell me whether they're black people oriented. And we're talking about in a Grenada context, it's as if everybody's supposed to have a nickname of some sort. And a lot of the times they come from, give us an idea of what you found when it comes to our background as Africans, as black people, that lend itself to nicknames, calling others nicknames.
Yes, I think part of it is we live in a wonderfully hot place, so we open our windows and our doors, and every conversation that's supposed to be private, maybe somebody might overhear, and so you do something and you're telling someone a story and somebody overhears that, and you were the one who went fishing and you thought you saw a chicken, or so you get that sort of name. It wasn't a bird, it was it wasn't a chicken, it was a bird, and you get chicken hawk. So you're telling stories, or stories get repeated and people hear it. So there's that aspect of it. There's the African and past where names would change depending on what your job was, or depending on moving area, or even depending on you change your status, so you got married and you got a different name, and those sort of rites of passage names. And some of that I got from a great book on Grenada done by Beverly Steele. So I've done lots of research in books by Grenadian writers as well. That's helped me with, some people done the original papers and looked at things like this. And there's also the African tradition of keeping names secret because of spirits won't get to you if you harm you if your name's kept secret. And because people's real names are practically secret in Grenada, because their nicknames are so much more known than their real name, your real name might as well be a secret because
right.
People don't know you. So I think all these different strands, and also language, Creole, Patois, the different languages that we've had is part of how we maybe create names or make up words. We're quite happy to make up words because we one language to the next language, we're flexible with that. So I have things like weng weng song, and which is not really, it's a sound that it's probably something he said that was then interpreted. So that's also another part of it. Lots of strands really, and of course names are important. Names are important to people, to countries. People change their names when they get independence, and so names are important across the world as well. And also there's of course there's enslavement, which meant that people were taken from one part of Africa and brought to Grenada and given a new name as well, probably by the slave owner. So people have, in our background, there's a sense of being renamed or being given names by outsiders, by being given names by people who don't know us and calling us something else. So it's that same thing of, nicknames is somebody calls you something and then it sticks and that becomes your name. So there is that, you can say that goes all the way back to that time really, that same sort of practice or the experience of being given a name that you haven't chosen. I think that's the similarity in how I look at it anyway.
So how is that good and bad? Because when it comes to the name of the book, They Call Me, I get the sense that I don't want to be called this.
Well, it was people's really honest, because I say, what's your nickname? And they say, oh, I haven't, it's not, you say my name is blah blah. And say, well, they call me, they christen me, they baptize me. These are some of the things people have been saying, and this is the stamp the community has put on me. Particularly in Guelph, some of the people are saying it like that, like this is the label. And for some people, they don't want that name. For others, they've learned to live with it. They can make sense of it. They can find a way to match their personality with the name and figure that, okay, I have an interest in the land, I'm called Digit, that's okay because Digit land, and I'm proud to be somebody who works in the land, so that's great. There are other people, it's just very hard, and they just hope it'll gradually fall away as they move from school friends to work, as they move through life. They hope that they'll then be called their other name.
As you go through the counseling session, what are some of the psychological effects that you see when it comes to people being called names that they don't appreciate?
I think it's like in any family or there are people who are given labels that are not true to who they are. So in a family so it doesn't have to be a nickname thing. So I'm not going to say nicknames are good or bad. I think it just is. But
you learn to live with it, right?
Yes, you learn to live with it. But I think people can label people. So in families you might have the lazy one or the helpful one or the clever one or the nice. People do these labels. In friendship groups you might say this one is that type of person, that one's that type. And I think any sort of labels like that, any sort of superficial labels that doesn't look at the whole person, which we're all whole, we're all complete, we're all complex. None of us are simple, this type of person or that type of person. And I think once we appreciate the whole person, then we give each other a chance to be real, to be true. And that's what is my counselling is about really, is helping people to find all of what they are, all of who they are, and live that in the world. And it's part of me trying to do this. I'm Grenadian, I'm British, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and I must be allowed to do all of it because both of those are parts of me and I mustn't have to choose. And I think with my clients I also want them to find all the bits of them and do it. So it's a real integrative, holistic approach is how I practice.
So how do you in my growing up, I know there are people who were called names that will literally go off the deep edge. And because they're angry about it, then the name gets to stay even the more. How do you get out of that?
What people have said to me is that they just try and ignore it and not get fussed about it and just let it sort of hope it will die away. And for some they say it's become less prevalent for them, so it seems to be a way to make it work rather than to cause a fuss. But I met a young lady who had so many different names, and it seems as though when she sold fudge she was called Fudge Girl, when she sold mango she was called Mango Girl, then she was and then she was called Big Feet I think, or and it was just like they kept, and I think she was very angry. But I can understand, because as a teenager you want to feel you're attractive, you want boys to like you, you want to feel that way, and she was being teased and told, you're no good, and I think she got more angry, and then they gave her more names. But you can understand her point of view, and I think maybe, and I know there's more counsellors in the school as well now, but maybe just to have someone to listen to her, and I think her family just said, you have to sell fudge, you have to sell mango, that's how we make a living. And maybe it's for other young people to realise that someone may not have a choice, they may have to do something, but that's not all that they are. She will grow up to be whatever she'll grow up to be.
We have a lot of that going on in the school system, and in a lot of cases there is no recourse. There is nobody's punishing another person for calling somebody a particular name, and it becomes fun and laughter, and everybody's enjoying themselves except the person to whom it is done. And if, let's say, hypothetically, you are given the power to do something about that, what kind of advocacy would you?
It's a difficult one because some of it is playing and some of it is fun, and people need to have fun, young people need to have fun. I think if it's causing pain and hurt in somebody's life, is very difficult, especially if schools are limited. You can't just move. You know, if you're in a big country like England, your family can move schools. Grenada, it may be quite difficult. The job, the church, that, you know, this is your village, you can't just move. And so then it requires either somebody talking to the other students and say, this is hurtful, this has gone beyond the joke now, and you need to stop, or we need to think about the impact it'll have. Sometimes people don't realize the impact it has. I think it's just a matter of, because some of these people just thought, that's my name, I don't think about it. Even adults who've had the name for a long time don't think about it.
Right.
Yeah, so it's getting people to stop and say, this is important, this is having an impact. When it's negative, if it's positive, just, you know, enjoy it. Have fun with it. So it's somebody just being alert to those things, really.
When it comes to the acceptance part of it, a lot of the times, is it the fact that they give me a name because of some external characteristic or something that I have done, whether it is a positive. Men sometimes tend to get the mature kind of name based on their activity sometimes, which is not good, but they end up enjoying the name because of what it says about them. Let's talk a bit about the mindset that goes beyond acceptance or rejecting the names that are given.
Yes, I mean, that actually is quite themed across the world, because I've read lots of books on nicknames, and it is the same sort of thing. It's characteristics, it's how you appear. Appearance is not just Grenada, other countries do it as well. It's also something maybe you like a lot. So I have someone who is called Sweetest because his mango tree had the sweetest sweetest breadfruits on his tree. That was what he said. So he obviously went and told some people, friends, Sweetest, you know, I said, oh, we'll call you Sweetest then.
Yeah.
You know? So what you like, how you look, and of course I've got someone called Snakehead, and you know, those sort of things which are not pleasant, and different escapades people get up to as well, or they look like someone from a movie or from a film, or there's Charlie who moved like Charlie Chaplin, and you know, so there's sort of behavior, activity, or physicalities in there. Some of the women physicality is not so pleasant, I find. So there's a girl called Piano Teeth because she had decaying teeth, rotten teeth, as well as, you know, so that's not pleasant, but you hope that she will at some point, her teeth will be sorted and then that name will disappear. You sort of hope that. So some of it is physical, some of it is activities, some of it is family, I think. So if it's your parents used to be called a certain name, that name might go on to you as well. So then you have, it's nothing to do with your personality or who you are. You're the son of or the daughter of, you get that name. And that's one of the difficult things to then live with. And sometimes it falls off and you get your own. So it just depends, and then you do something more interesting. So you get a new name.
So in a sense, it can become a booster.
I think it's a way of being recognized. That's what some people quite like it as a way of, people know who you are in the community. You're the man. You're this and you're that. So if you have John, Mary, whatever, there's a lot of Johns around, there's a lot of Pauls around, but if you're the only
John, or
yes, if you're the only captain or chicken or, you know, whatever, that's a different name for you. You are that. So that's another way of doing it.
You see, that at the times when you will get the names, at times when you're vulnerable, when you're younger, probably when you're going through your teenage years, probably when you're going through a difficult time, you're a counsellor. Share with us probably some ways by which we're able to sort of swim above the water, so to speak, when it comes to those negativities.
I mean, it is hard to just, of course, you try and put it in a different part of your mind, a different part of your brain, and try and ignore it. And what some people have done is try and show from their behavior, from the way they are, from who they are, that they're not what the name says that they are. So if you think the name says lazy and no good, but I'm showing you that I'm responsible, I'm working, I'm looking after my family, that name